video. Now, I'm going to be talking a lot quieter than I did the last time, because I remember the last time I talked really, really loud. And so I'm going to take it down a notch, if that's okay. So welcome back to the beginner's guide. So we are already, let's see here. So we're only on chapter 8, which is pretty crazy already. I don't know how many chapters there are to the game, but I hope that there are quite a lot more, because I really want more aspect to this game. So we're just going to start off by going straight into chapter 8, and I don't want to forget right now, so make sure that you like, subscribe, turn on the post notification bell, and also make sure that you follow my Instagram, follow my TikTok, if you want to. You obviously don't have to. And also say hi to Mochi. Now, we'll put on Mochi for today. Can we put him on the mic? No, we can't put him on the mic. Alright, we'll just put him behind the camera for now. Okay. I'm gonna try to film every single aspect of the video just so that you along with me won't miss anything. So right now we're in April 2009, and this is 1 year before my sister was born, which is pretty crazy. Alright, go. Alright, here we go. Right. The game is connected to the internet. As you walk around, you can leave notes. All notes you see are left by other players. This is connected by other people. Okay. Nice phone. Not. It's pretty good, guys.
So first off, I'm sure you can deduce this, but this game is not connected to the internet. All of the notes that you're going to see have been written by Coda. This was actually the first game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend game jam in Sacramento, where I grew up. I saw him working on this very level, and it was just so different from anything that anyone else was doing. So right away I was like, I have to be friends with this person. In retrospect, I think I was probably a bit too pushy, trying to get his attention. I was over-enthusiastic. But he was very gracious about it and very patient with me. And I cooled off eventually. Oh, feel free to skip over any of these notes if they're not doing anything for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them. Either way, to me they convey a sense of loneliness. I see this person who's filled with thoughts and feelings and beliefs and has no way to express them except as scattered and unheard voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played.
Boring. Sorry, I had to say that.
But it's ironic, isn't it? That in playing this game and seeing how alone Coda often felt, that we get to know him better and actually kind of connect with him. And I have to be honest with you, this idea is really seductive to me. That I could just play someone's game and see the voices in their head and get to know them better and have to do less of the messy in-person socializing. I could just get to know you through your work. I think this is why I always liked Coda's games so much, is because it felt like they let me have that connection. I felt as though he was inviting me personally into his world. And then I feel less lonely too.
So he wrote these all. Jesus. I gotta give the guy props. Like, jeez, this is crazy, bro. Like, look at all this. Guys, this is kind of like Gary's mod, so once I have that, if you want me to play that in future episode, I would love to. Jeez, brother. Look at this. Alright, I'll cut to you when I get to the end, because this is probably going to take a really long time. So, yeah, I will see you in a bit.
At the end of this level, we're going to see the puzzle again. And here, I'll tell you what I think the puzzle means. Each of these games represents an idea that was on Coda's mind at the time that he was making it. And the puzzle is a way of closing the door on a previous chapter of his life before moving on to the next one. In each of his games, after exploring a theme that, he might find difficult, Coda can then place this puzzle that he knows has a reliable solution, he understands exactly how it works, and so it gives him a simple mechanism for moving on. And because there's this dark area between the doors, a space between spaces, before you move on, you get to pause. Just for a moment, a few seconds to reflect on and let go of the events that led you here. To step back and connect the pieces together. To grasp at that elusive bigger picture.
This is so complex. How do I do that? Are you there? Please say something. It can be anything. I just need you to say something. Talk to me, please. Why you have to say something? Talk. Speak, 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 speak. Okay. Turn it off. Porn stars.
Okay, this one is tough. It's gonna kinda just spin its own wheels for a few minutes. Hang with it.
Alright, that was kind of a weird word to say. Alright, so I'm trapped in here. Okay, that's open. Let's go. It's a nice curve, by the way. It's music though. Alright, let's stop. It's good. Alright. Oh, I think this is outside.
See, this is it. The whole game. And there's nothing that's particularly interesting about it. You just walk to the end of a hallway. Except, for some reason, Coda gets really fixated on this prison that has all of this modern furniture. And I don't know why, but he decides he needs to revisit this prison. He's gonna start over, use the same assets, turn it into something else. Okay, cool. Here's version 2.
Version 2, guys. The furniture ought to go to the center of the room. But a TV with surround sound or refrigerator. Let's put 2 refrigerator. That's a table. Okay, now what about along the wall of the room? Let's put it, one. Let's put a big picture, of course. Those are couches. I think we should light up this room. Over 3, let's put Tesla coils. Pixar lamp. And a table, you need a table. Who are you? Where exactly are you doing this from? I'm pretty sure none of my choices are making any difference. Table, let's do 3. That's very, very serious. Well, that was pretty pointless. Whoa!
There's a bit more to this one, but still, it's not really communicating anything. It's kind of just weird for weirdness' sake.
Woo! Sorry about that.
So, okay, he throws it out and starts over. This time he comes at the prison idea from a different direction.
What's going on? Hello, please walk forward. I bet this guide will enable you to escape any prison. Wait, what? Follow the instructions carefully. Take care that you remember each step. First, click on this table. Okay, good. Go over to the photo frame and click to turn it slightly. Is that the photo frame? Yeah. Alright, now turn the floor lamp in this room off. Okay, and now it says, now turn the floor lamp in this room off. Did we just do that? Is this it? go to the left side so you can move it over a little. Left side. Alright, finally touch the shelves. That's it. In real prison, the escape will now open. Return to the start and to be taken back to your prison. Wait, what did that say? That's it. In a real prison, the escape will now open. Return to... Alright. Oh, look, it's 3 dots again. Oh, look at that. This is so cool and really odd at the same time. Return. Yay! Alright, here we go. And we're back.
And of course, now the table is gone and you can't begin the chain of events to escape. Here's a version where there are no bars, but you can't actually get to the well. And then a version where the inside of the prison is the outside and the outside is the inside. Let me just blink you real quick through a few more of these. I mean, he really unloaded on this prison idea. There's nearly a dozen of them. Personally, I think it's awful to watch this, to see a person basically unraveling through their work. And for what? Like, at what point do you just go, maybe there are game ideas other than this prison that I could be working on? But Coda doesn't have that voice telling you to stop, that particular mechanism of defense against yourself. Without it, you just spiral. And so he keeps going and going and going and going and going, and then he hits on something. And he likes it. And that's it. He's done. He stops making prisons. This is the very last version of the prison game that he created. And the reason I think it works is that the prison is not actually in it.
I hate this kind of, like, nobody's here. Complete silence. What the heck? Nothing's here. It's just like bushes and stuff. The lamppost is back, I will say that. And then what is this, like a phone box? No. Okay, listen, I just got goosebumps because I hate it when things open on their own. One. Hey, it's me. I'm from after you escaped the prison. You know me? So you were trapped in this prison too? Yep. I was in the furniture maze.
It's a conversation. And so this is what Coda wants, is to be able to talk to someone, to share what's on his mind, and to get some good advice from someone who knows. But the irony is that even in this scenario, you're still talking to yourself. You know, all of these games so far are Coda talking to himself.
Do you feel any different? Sometimes I'm scared I'll get out and then things will be exactly the same as before. Yeah, it does change actually. I feel a lot more. Oh, good. That's so nice to hear. That makes me feel really happy. Age just kind of, I'm still me, but somehow it's hard to describe. I just enjoy being who you are and get out of it. That's really touching. Wait, before me, did you get a call from the direction of you being trapped? Yeah, I think so. What did they tell you? What did you have to do to get out? That's literally all they do. What? They freed you? How does that work? Those words, so that made me like this. Okay, I can talk. Let's just talk for a bit. Will you be here? Be here first.
I can see why he considers this a fitting conclusion to the prison games. After all of the obsession and frustration, just to be told by someone you can trust that things are going to be okay. Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh no, I think I know what's happening. I think he's...
So what would it look like if Coda wanted to make a game about talking to someone other than himself?
Alright, so before we go into so you don't have any sound. I think that Coda is depressed about something very bad, and I think he is going through a very terrible time, like somebody died or something, and he needs somebody to talk to about. So this isn't about just him making random games, it's just about his story and like why he's making these games. So let's continue. Oh my god, this went wrong.
To me, this environment is meant to represent Coda's puzzle, with the 2 doors on either side and a dark transitional space between.
Oh yeah, there's 2 doors. Alright, let's go. Alright, it's as clean. Well, my goodness, I'm glad as all heck that you showed up. Thought I might have to clean this entire house all by myself. And right miserable that would have been. Everyone knows lonesome hands make lousy homes.
You'll notice that the quality of the art is a step up from previous games, including this new and improved chat system, which he started using from this point on. From here on out, he begins putting much more effort into the visual polish of his work, and this particular game took 2 months to create as a result.
I'm not gonna read it because it's a lot of dialogue. We're gonna probably read it in my head. Run to the bedroom. So, right now, just leave it there and straighten it out. All the little details matter. That's nice. I don't usually get so much as I need as well. I feel that I'm just gonna do exactly what you said. Yeah, want to make it especially juicy. Toss that in a lot. No. What? No. Stupid. Sorry, never mind. This just needs to be washed on. Like that. Doesn't check to the top. Like scrub it down as best as you can. Oh my goodness. This is, I think he has OCD or something because now that these dishes are
After the intense set of prison games, this house cleaning level almost feels like cleansing. It's the moment after a particularly difficult or traumatic experience where you just need to let it sit and digest inside of you, and eventually cohere into something meaningful. I know that Coda really liked this game. Of all of his work, actually, this was the only one that he called me up to ask me to come over and look at it. This was during a period of a few months where he was like grossly happy all the time, just walked around with a constant smile on his face.
I'm just gonna pick one because they always seem to be really nice answers. Anyway, so housekeeping. Let's keep doing this. Books, would you please clean up the books? How do they follow me? Just thanks.
I'm glad he made this. I'm glad he found some peace. But, of course, it can't last. The music stops, your companion is gone, it's time to leave. The door at the top of the hill is now open as well. Again, You can't stay in the dark space for too long. You just can't. You have to keep moving. It's how you stay alive.
I think he did. So, again, he definitely lost somebody. He's probably diagnosed with OCD, and OCD can get very terrible. Like, you see this mouse, if it isn't straight, I keep moving it. And, like, it's terrible. I don't know. Like, I feel so bad for him. I mean, if that's the case. But if it isn't the case, then, oh, lamppost. Here we go.
Which is the whole point of the puzzle doors, right? That sooner or later you have to pick up and move. I really thought that was the point of it.
September now. Items you love.
This one gets a bit goofy.
Alright, why did you come here today? Was it to improve your life? Was it to get the better job? Was it to make your relationships more meaningful? No. You came here to become perfect. This workshop is going to teach you how to be perfect. I want your friends, the people in your life, to look at you and think, wow, this person is better than a human being than I am right now. Who do you think about that in a way in your own life? I'm not even gonna read, it's crazy, selfish, and ungrateful. I intend to make you into that person. Whoa. It's a nice school, I gotta say.
About halfway through the game, the perspective shifts.
What the heck? Oh my gosh!
And you play as the teacher. And suddenly, you discover that your teacher is just as bigoted and afraid as you are. Oh, and also you can move around the classroom now.
Gosh, what is going on? Everybody's getting sucked up. Jeez. Oh my gosh.
I felt pretty hard for this one. I feel like it's one of the most relatable experiences that you can have. To assume that some other person is perfect and totally fulfilled in every way, and completely miss all of the little flaws that make them painfully human. I think about this game a lot these days.
My sister.
This one took a lot longer than all the others for Coda to make. It was 4 months between this and the last one. That's twice as long as it took him to make any other game before this, and it's not like it's particularly complex, so I remember I found that a little strange at the time.
Alright. Same picture, same everything. Stage, I bet. Damn, those are some curvy chairs with the big box as well. Stage, okay. Oh my god. I almost just died right there. Oh.
The game ends with this eerie premonition of what's going to happen next in Coda's life. The solution to social anxiety, to fears of having to perform and having to chase success, the answer for Coda is to withdraw, to hide himself away. Which is what leads to scenarios like the stairs that slowed you down several games ago, where it just becomes harder and harder to access Coda's inner landscape because he keeps retreating. He just keeps backing away from possible connections to anyone other than himself. And to be honest, I didn't consider it very helpful when I first played this game. You know, it looked to me like he was trying to justify the idea of just disconnecting yourself from the world. And that wasn't what I wanted for him or for his games. Because I feel like a lot of his games are inviting me to connect with this person, to bring him closer. But what can you do?
Yeah.
After this, Coda went off and took another 5 months to make a new game.
5 months? Mobius Strip. To play this game, probably must keep your eyes closed. Click to begin the game. Okay. You can't keep your eyes closed. Alright, I can't. Oh my god, it's the puzzle thing. Oh! Run! Look, oh, lamppost! No!
You should probably open your eyes if you haven't already. It's pretty much impossible to solve otherwise. And there is a solution, by the way.
SS Whisper. Dang it. Alright, I know what to do now. Alright, run. Go! I'm sorry. This is so intense, this music. Run. Go. Go. The truth. The only way to stop this is to speak and be honest. 3. Oh. So we have to say something truthful. Go. Got this. Go. Run. Alright, 2. Yes. Oh, we did it. I mean, I did it, but I don't feel it anymore. Not if I didn't.
Like I said, I was getting concerned. First off, he's never been this explicit in his work about exactly what he's thinking. So where's that coming from? But then even weirder, his work has potentially stopped being an outlet for him. Not like he's having trouble iterating on ideas, but he literally just can't think of new ideas anymore. And in person, he was being a lot more distant than usual. Like, you know how sometimes a person will just deflect anything that you say in order to keep themselves disconnected all the time? It was that kind of thing. Here was the point in my relationship with Coda where I really started to wonder if he needed my help in some way.
I think we're Coda right now, and we're talking to people. You're doing it. It's working. Oh no. Because this is kind of getting a little bit, like, serious.
His games are going to get more desperate from here on out.
Oh no.
After this game, it's almost 6 months before he finishes something new.
Hello, where am I? What is this? I'm gonna say, where am I? Whoa, that is weird music. Oh. Is this in my one? I'm not gonna speak again. Sorry about that. Yay, thank you. Whoa. It isn't far, but I think he's talking like to himself right now because he's alone.
If the last game featured Coda talking explicitly about his creative frustrations, this one turns it up to 11. Now, put yourself in my shoes playing this. Here's a friend whose work is exhibiting signs of struggle, frustration, anxiety, depression, even. And yet, still, he keeps making games. He keeps throwing himself into the grinder even when he clearly doesn't have the energy for it anymore. Why? What is it for? Because from my perspective at the time and just what I knew of him, this was a result of how isolated he was. He was in his own little bubble, just sitting at his computer all day, not really showing these games to anyone, not releasing them onto the internet, and so he didn't have anyone outside of himself to connect with. He had no outlet to ground himself on. You can't talk yourself out of loneliness. It doesn't work that way. You can't be the one writing both the questions and the answers. Then there's no movement. Then there's no circulation. If all of your anxieties are being channeled into your work, then if the work ever fails, you have no backup and you're just going to crash.
Oh!
Seeing this game at the time that he made it, it looked really unhealthy to me. I was watching him do this to himself, and I hated it. I hated seeing him so trapped. It's like, video games are not worth this amount of suffering.
Yeah,
This is someone I really cared about. And I used to get so much joy out of seeing him create. For him to suddenly become angry and frustrated like this, it was the worst thing for me. I don't know. This is what I felt at the time. I don't know how else to explain it. I wanted it to stop more than anything.
who is that?
I had never felt so rotten. I needed more than I had ever needed anything for this to stop.
Alright.
But it didn't stop.
Oh gosh.
After finishing this one, Coda takes another 7 months and comes up with a new game.
May 2011. Alright, The Machine. Alright. I think we're gonna stop here. Alright. Alright guys, we're gonna stop the video here. Yeah, that's basically it. So we're gonna make one more part, hopefully one more part. And then yeah, that'll be it. So I hope you guys really enjoy. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, and do that other stuff. And bye, say bye, Lochi. Bye. Alright. And see you later. Peace out.